This is your Daily Detroit, recorded on Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. It's a sunny day in the University District, and I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson. Good day, everyone.
Let's just dive right into it, shall we?
Local media is reporting that the FBI was conducting raids on Tuesday on the Taylor City Hall and the home and a vacation property of the city's mayor, Rick Sollers. It wasn't clear what the raids were about, and the FBI isn't commenting. There have been questions about Taylor police officers pocketing vehicle inspection fees following a federal lawsuit, plus allegations that Sollers and a city council member got kickbacks from a towing contractor. Federal authorities have focused intensely on cracking down on public corruption in the Detroit area in recent years, with 17 convictions and federal charges against 22 contractors and public officials, including Detroit City Councilman Gabe Leland. Even as it's largely declining comment, the FBI says it's set up a hotline for those who believe they may have information relevant to the investigation. That number is 313-965-4545.
General Motors says it will invest $20 million at its Romulus powertrain plant to expand production capacity for its 10-speed transmissions. The news comes a day after the company announced a $36 million investment at its Lansing Delta Township plant for future production of crossovers. Last week, GM said it was adding 1,000 jobs at a truck plant in Flint. More than 1,300 people work at the Romulus plant, which currently builds V6 engines and 10-speed transmissions used in a variety of vehicles. GM said the investment will help buy more machining equipment to expand capacity. It did not offer any details on timing or other specifics. GM said it's invested more than $880 million at the plant over the past decade. The company is in the middle of a broader effort to shed about 14,000 jobs and close 5 North American production plants as it shifts its focus to more autonomous and electric vehicles.
The giant testing ground for self-driving vehicles at Willow Run has named a former Intel Corporation executive as its new CEO. Michael Noblette takes over as the head of the American Center for Mobility near Ypsilanti effective February 25th. He replaces interim CEO Kirk Steidl, who was former head of the Michigan Department of Transportation. Michael Noblette takes over as the head of the American Center for Mobility near Ypsilanti, effective February 25th. He replaces interim CEO Kirk Steidl, who formerly headed the Michigan Department of Transportation. Noblette previously was the global segment lead of automotive industry sales for Intel and was based here in the Detroit area. Opened in April of 2018, the center is a joint initiative with the state of Michigan, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the University of Michigan, and 2 business groups. It features a 500-plus acre testing ground near the Willow Run Airport for automakers and other groups to test and validate autonomous vehicles.
The annual Hot Rod and Custom Car Show, known as Autorama, is coming to Cobo Center for the 67th year, starting March 1st. But one thing you might not see, a stunt jump downtown with a Smokey and the Bandit replica Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. The Detroit News reports that the Detroit City Council on Tuesday rejected Autorama's request to stage the stunt this year. That's because the stunt cars used in previous 2 years bore Confederate flags. A spokeswoman for Autorama says the organization will try to resolve the issue with the city. We're in the city of Detroit. I feel like, duh?
Yeah, right. I mean, the Confederate flag is, for good reason, toxic and offensive. And it's almost amazing that we're kind of having this discussion in 2019, frankly. I mean, as
someone who went to a high school that used the Confederate flag and then roundly got criticized for it, it was not a smart move on people's part. But to be honest, it didn't raise that much concern only 20 years ago. Like that, this is an icon that only now we are starting to talk about and reckon with.
Right, and cities across like the South are grappling with their like Confederate, monuments and everything. And I mean, let's be clear: the Confederate flag is a symbol of the Confederacy, which was all about slavery.
Yeah, you can't sugarcoat that. I know that there will be people with alternate histories, and they're wrong.
Yeah,
and they just are. That's just not a fact.
And it's been used as a symbol of hatred and white supremacy over time. I mean, you can't have that adorning cars in the city of Detroit for a publicly, sanctioned event. I mean,
and I don't know if anyone's paid any attention, but the city of Detroit, last I checked, I live here. It's a majority African-American city. We have certain standards for things around here. And let's be clear, I love a good car jump. I'm all about it. We can find another vehicle. It'll be fine. People will be entertained. It'll be good. We don't need that here.
A new law pitched by the Republican State House Majority Floor Leader could overhaul Michigan's texting while driving ban. Tristan Cole's plan would add reading an email or sending a message on social media apps to the list of banned activities for drivers. The legislation would expand a ban that already includes texting on a cell phone while behind the wheel. It would also change the rules for beginning drivers. It'd limit new drivers under the age of 18 or those with a level 1 or level 2 graduated license from talking or listening to a cell phone call while driving, except in the case of emergency. Cole represents the 105th district. That covers Antrim, Otsego, Charlevoix, Montmorency, and Oscoda counties. Right now, texting while driving is banned. The fine on that is $100 for a first offense, while subsequent offenses will set you back $200.
Today I hit Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in the Lodge to check in on the side of Detroit you don't see in glossy features, an issue that we've been wrestling with for decades.
Detroit is experiencing a comeback in the downtown area. It is marvelous to see, and we are just amazed. But the neighborhoods are not seeing that comeback yet, and there are still people in need in the neighborhoods that at some point, we're going to have to start addressing more aggressively than what we are as a town right now.
That's John Turner, Division Commander for the Eastern Michigan Division of the Salvation Army. Their bed and bread trucks serve 3,800 meals each day to hungry Detroiters.
3 trucks go out on the streets every single day of the year, even during the polar vortex that we went through. The trucks were still out there, prescribed routes, and the people know that we're going to be at a certain spot at a certain time. And they come out, and for some of them, they get the only meal of the day that they receive is from the trucks here. So it's a crucial program, actually, for the city.
Trucks coming to residents is important. More than a third of Detroit households don't have a car. Most of those households are poor. Our transit system, while better than it was, still doesn't hold a candle to other major cities. Detroit still isn't very walkable for the most part either. This combination of factors, along with a lack of economic opportunity, freezes people into poverty. The feeding program is also a chance for some people to turn around their lives, like Gregory Taylor. He now works for the Salvation Army with the bed and bread truck program.
I used to eat off this truck. A few years back, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and my first priority was to supply my habit. So I spent money for food, the little money I did have, and I would depend on this truck. Some nights I would have been up drinking all night and stomach was hurting, and I'd see that truck. I'd get a cup of hot chocolate. On a cold day, that hot chocolate would really help me out, and a sandwich. It would probably save me from getting sick a lot of times, a lot of days. And when I first started going to jail, I was the youngest person. I look around, I would be the youngest person there. And then I looked around, and I came to the realization that I'm one of the oldest people here. This has got to stop. I think I hit my bottom, and right there in the county jail, I decided I would change my life. So I know what a lot of people that come to the truck are going through. Some of them are still struggling with addiction, and some are just down in their luck.
Down on their luck was a phrase that stuck with me. Think about that for a second. Maybe think about where you're at. How many months could you go without a job before you lost your place? It's not crazy to think any one of us could eat a sandwich, if not more, at some point. These programs aren't free to run, but if they didn't exist, it's a good bet more people would turn to crime, or even perish. There aren't that many service programs for Detroit's poor that reach as many people as the Salvation Army's, and they provide a very practical service. Here's where someone who's familiar to longtime Detroit radio listeners comes in.
Well, I guess it's about 32 years ago, and I was celebrating 5 years at a particular radio station.
That's Detroit radio legend Dick Purtan.
But so I called the gang together, and I said, let's talk about some sort of 5-year celebration. What's your favorite charity? and everybody around the table, which was about 5 people, from the morning show, and they all said the Salvation Army. And I said, oh, that's funny, me too. So I said to Gene Taylor, I said, Gene, contact somebody over at the Army and let's put something together. So he did talk to Clarence Harvey, who at the time was the colonel, and they came up with the Bed and Bread Club. And so we fit very nicely into that thing, and so it began. Here we are 32 years later.
Purtan's a bit modest. What he didn't tell you is that over the last 31 years, they've raised $34 million to help Detroit's needy. But the need keeps persisting. So starting Thursday night on WJR-AM 760 and running through Friday is the 32nd annual Bed and Bread Club Radiothon. Hosted by Purtan and a variety of others, they're raising funds to keep those trucks rolling. It'll broadcast live from inside One Campus Martius. If you're interested in supporting the Bed and Bread Truck program, you can text BREAD to 91999 or visit sellmish.org.
Before we let you go, wanted to let you know that Bob Seger has added a third show to his farewell tour in Detroit. The new show will be on June 12th. It'll be his 30th and final concert at DTE Energy Music Theater.
Sven, that venue will always be Pine Knob to me.
It'll always have a place in your heart. With that, I'm Sven Gustafson. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you can be part of our show by becoming a Patreon member. Join us at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
It's just a few bucks a month, and it makes a big difference. I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.